Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. This is going to be comments episode 18, and this is dedicated solely to Arif Lizarraga Olascoaga. This is my friend from Spain. We served in the same mission, the Spain-Barcelona mission. He put a really long comment that I want to go over, but I didn't want to put it in the last video just because it's long. I don't know how long it's going to take. So, but I think there's some pretty good information in here as I just kind of like skim over it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you end up liking it, hit the notification bell, leave comments with what you think, and we'll do more episodes just like this. Now, um, uh, I want to put something out there for both you, Arif, and then for anybody else that would like to. I'm thinking something that I would like to do for those that want to do it with me is do Zoom calls and then post those videos on the channel and just have conversations with anybody that feels like talking. Um, I know that you, Arif, you wanted to do a collaboration at one point, and I don't know if you'd feel comfortable with doing like a Zoom call. Um, but I think that'd be cool. I think you have a lot to say, and it'd be great to get that information out there. So just let me know what you think, and then anybody else also, if you feel like coming on the channel, then I can make some time and we can do a have a chat. So all right, so let's go ahead and get into this. He says we hand over the Church of the Lamb, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, to the Lamb in order to become the Church of the Firstborn. That's how it seems to be. Yeah, I would agree. Uh, just the part that I'm not clear on, and the reason why I don't really know is because from what I've read so far, it seems that the Church of the Firstborn is strictly those who have reached an exalted status or are going to the celestial kingdom. So that's why I'm not sure about the millennium and what things are gonna. I just don't know. So if you have like a source for that, so we can look at it together and whatever, then. But yeah, so I'm pretty much on board with that. Um, okay, I keep speaking of the Anglo-Saxons. I will mention the contributions of Spain now. Yes, please do. And I plan on doing my own videos about Spain, Portugal, and I'm going to hit up everywhere that I can, because there's a lot of information out there about where the tribes went, I think, and then especially when it relates to these Western European countries, I think there's a lot of Israelite blood there, including Spain and Portugal, and then what these countries did for the world as far as like preparing the world for um, the last days. Even though they didn't really know it, they really have made it possible for the Lord's work to happen in these last days the way that it has. They facilitated it. America was saved by the Lord from British hands, but the Lord used three mighty nations to make sure the powerful British Empire would lose: the French, the Spanish, and the Dutch nations with their empires. Yes, because the Dutch did have a pretty powerful empire at one point, um, you know, on par with these other countries. In fact, Galvez did not remember his first name, led a good bunch of Spanish troops and gained a name among the American heroes in the Senate, perhaps the Congress. The city of Galveston also bears his name. Oh, okay, so that's where Galveston comes from, Galveston, Texas. Even the main currency of the world, the dollar, is based on the Spanish dollar. The name was originally Dutch in German for Spain. The name was originally Dutch and German for Spain, held possessions in those European countries. Admittedly, the Lord sent a storm to beat the mighty Spain when the Armada was going to conquer the British, but that was long before the British even settled in America. The 13 colonies had had mostly British settlers, uh, but a good, but also a good deal of German, Irish, Scandinavians, French, and Dutchmen, Jew, and a few Poles. Yeah, in fact, famously, the Dutch, I think they had uh, quite a presence in the New York City area because at one point it was called New Amsterdam, right? Um, the subsequent territory that was French until the Anglo-French War when it was turned British, and after the 13 colonies became independent, they got the area as well. Florida was Spanish, um, then British, then Spanish again, then Spain sold it to the Americans. The huge Louisiana Territory, the entire Midwest, where I live now, um, was French, then Spanish, then French. Then Napoleon sold it to the Americans, right? Because he needed to finance his war, so he needed that money. Mexico became independent from Spain. Texas had Texas had French for a while, but it was mostly part of the Spanish Empire. Then became independent from Spain under Mexico. Uh, then became independent. Then joined the United States. The Northwest, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, was in dispute between Spain and Russia and became British. And then the British gave it to the Americans. The Southwest was Spanish, then Mexican, then American. From those Spaniards came the Mexican charro and the American cowboy or buckaroo. Yeah, buckaroo is just a way of imitating the Spanish vaquero. Really, buckaroo, vaquero. Okay, cool. Take into account that the V in Spanish is like the B. Yeah, and I remember on my mission sometimes, I guess people that um, maybe you'd have like kids or whatever that would like misspell words and they would switch the B and the V with certain words. We don't have the sound V sound even though we write it. Yeah, so it's like basically the same sound. No logic, I know. Let me tell you this: languages. I don't think there's any language on the planet that really fully makes sense, and that's sad. I really like Spanish because they stick really close to what each letter, like each word and the way it's spelled. The pronunciation follows the rules of those letters in the alphabet, what sound they're supposed to make, unlike English with all these like silent letters and like just it's ridiculous. The quintessential cowboy in Spanish. If you see La Feria del Rocio in Andalusia, southern Spain, it's very similar. Even the cowboy hat. The lasso comes from lazo or bow. Um, the only thing the only thing that it's American is the revolver. This shouldn't be anything to be ashamed of because the cowboy is Spanish in origin. Hamburgers come from Hamburg, Germany, and nobody doubts of its being typically American. And interesting fact with that, I learned that basically barbecue, like the strong barbecue tradition from like Texas and places like that, it comes from the German population that was there. So it's actually kind of like German in origin. Um, let's see. America is a very young country. It has received nearly everything from other nations. So yes, the cowboy and the hamburgers are typically American, even though they were not invented there. Cowboys are usually in dry areas uh, that were Spanish ones, and that in that dry like Mediterranean Spain. Even beef jerky, a very cowboy food, it's probably Spanish because the charros, the people from Leon, Spain, as people from Leon, Spain are called, produce uh, cecina, which is a dry meat. In Mexico, the charros are the cowboys, and they dub the Cecina de Leon in Charqui, close to the English word jerky. Interesting. Charqui, jerky. Pizza and ice cream. Marco Polo brought from China to Italy uh, came from Italy, but nowhere in the world doubt that they are American, and due to the Americans, they are famous. Mexican food also become typical American food. British build houses with bricks and rocks, but American with wood. How come? Because Germans and Scandinavians build with logs. British law is very flexible, but American law isn't. That's probably because the German influence, which is so prominent in the United States, and Germans are not flexible. Jews probably have also contributed to the lack of flexibility of American laws, despite the American Constitution was despite the fact the American Constitution was influenced by the Independence Declaration of Arbroath, Scotland, uh, where they regard descendant where are regarded as descendants of the Scythians and of ancient Israel. And we've talked about the Scythians a little bit before on this channel. And I plan to do more research into that and put out more information. But anyway, yeah, the Confederation of the so-called civilized Indian tribes also, I said, have to be contributed to the American Constitution. The British Constitution also influenced it, and the French politician Alexis de Tocqueville also contributed to the American Constitution. Um, of course, Americans are really a mix of those characters. I'm generalizing, obviously. Not all Germans are inflexible and British flexible. Yeah, of course. Um, Americans have a talkative and outgoing character and are loud as compared to Northern Europeans, which is funny because when I was in Phoenix, we had sister missionaries in our area, and there was one that was from France, and I was like, and I wanted to like really get to know because I never met somebody from France before. Like when I was in Spain, I swear I met people from like all over the place, all over Europe, all over Latin and South America, the Middle East, Africa, other places, but I hadn't met any French, so I was really interested to talk to her, and I wanted to like see from her perspective and from a French perspective how they see Americans. And that's exactly what she said, that Americans are loud. On the other hand, Germans are very dry and quiet, but not everyone is that way. Yeah, of course. People in Montana are not outgoing as a rule, but people of California and Texas are. Climate and light determine people's characteristics. Yeah, I think there's some truth in that. British are punctual, Australians are not, and are loud, both yet they both have basically the same origin. Ancestry is important as well as climate. I agree. The first explorers to most of American territories were from Spain, Ponce de Leon, Cabeza de Vaca. The French also contributed something to discovering the interior of American lands. The famous River Platte, through which the Mormon pioneers crossed, was discovered by a Frenchman, as was Provo, Utah. Regarding American place names, 3 European languages contribute the most: Spanish, French, and English. Spanish Fork was named after the Spanish Camino Real that reached the area during the Spanish Empire: San Francisco, Los Angeles, Toledo, Madrid, Modesto, Las Vegas, uh, the Meadows in Spanish. And there are definitely no meadows in Las Vegas, I can tell you that. Montana, mountain. Nevada, snowdrift. Colorado, red or colored, right? Whatever. And a whole host of others have Spanish names, some of which were named native English speakers, not Spanish. Des Moines, the monks. Boise, forested. St. Louis, Eau Claire, Clearwater, Baton Rouge, Red Cane, even the CH in Chicago is pronounced as sh from the French inheritance. Uh, so yeah, not it's not Chicago, it's Chicago. That's what you're talking about there. The S in Des Moines, Illinois, Arkansas, are also not pronounced because of the French that held those areas before. So Americans and the country have mostly a European background, specifically mostly Western European from the countries that held great overseas empires, where the 10 lost tribes of Israel were more concentrated. Yeah. No wonder if you want to travel the world, you need English mostly, but also French and Spanish. No coincidence in anything. Even if they have Mexican ancestors or Igbo, most African Americans, they have Israel flowing in their veins. The Lord knows what he does. Yeah, I totally agree. Because who knows what things may have been like had Spain not colonized the Americas, and now we have all these Latin American countries that all speak the same language. I'm pretty sure that that has in some way facilitated the spread of the gospel, um, maybe in ways that we won't really know, but uh, taking language all across the world, making it easier to communicate. I'm sure that that's helped with the gathering of scattered Israel. Um, it's definitely there's definitely a lot that's happened. It's complicated, but also not complicated in nature. I want to get more and more into it. I thank you for all your information that you shared here. So really good stuff. Again, if you ever want to do like a Zoom meeting, that would be great. We'll put it on the channel. If not, then that's okay. Um, or if anybody else that's watching this, if you feel like coming on, I think that we can go ahead and try and do that. Um, and we'll leave it there. So thank you, Arif. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you liked it, hit the notification bell. Leave your comments, and we'll do this again in future videos, and I'll talk to you guys later.